What if the ache you've been trying to silence is actually life calling you to grow? And what if the most beautiful changes don't come from pressure, but from a quiet decision to begin? In a quiet garden where the seasons moved with patient rhythm, a single seed lay tucked beneath the soil, resting in silence. The earth around her was soft and nourishing, its warmth embracing her like a lullaby that never needed to end. Moisture held her gently. Nutrients came with ease. Life was slow, safe, and steady. Above her, a young gardener moved with quiet devotion. He came and went with care, watering, clearing, tending, never rushing, never pressing her forward. He didn't ask for growth. He simply showed up and waited. For a long time, that was enough. The seed felt sheltered in the stillness. There were no storms, no demands, no need to know what waited beyond the soil. Whatever lay above, whatever the sky might hold, felt distant, unnecessary. She had never seen it and never wondered much about it, because here, beneath the surface, everything she needed was already here. Or at least, it had always felt that way, until one day it did not. At first, life moved in a quiet, familiar rhythm. The soil remained warm, the days passed gently, and the young gardener came and went with his usual care, watering the ground, clearing what didn't belong, tending the garden with the kind of attention that asked for nothing in return. And beneath it all, the seed was content. She drank in the richness around her, rested in the stillness, and reminded herself, often and sincerely, this is enough, this is good, and this is safe. But over time, something began to shift. Not pain exactly, just a quiet ache. Subtle, persistent. Like a part of her no longer fit as it once did. She tried to ignore it. Burrowed deeper into the comfort that had always been enough. She wondered, why question what works? Why disturb what still feels peaceful? So she waited. Some days the ache faded. Other days she found ways to distract herself, burrowing deeper, reaching for old comforts, only to discover it was still there, quiet and steady. Like a question she couldn't answer but couldn't forget. She tried to focus on the soil, on what had always soothed her before. Told herself it was just a phase, just passing discomfort. But the whisper didn't leave. It simply learned how to wait. Then one morning, quiet and still like any other, she paused. Not out of fear, not out of desperation, but out of honesty. And in that pause, she looked inward. There were no grand revelations, no sudden visions. Only a truth, small and steady, rising gently to the surface of her awareness. I think I need to leave this place. There was no plan, no certainty, just a tender, fragile courage, the kind that doesn't shout but reaches. And so, for the first time, she stretched. A single thread of herself, trembling, unsure, rose toward something she couldn't see. Not because she was ready, not because she knew what waited, but because something in her knew that staying as she was had quietly become impossible. She didn't notice it at first, but something in the soil above her had shifted. It no longer pressed with the same weight. It felt lighter, as if the earth itself had made room for her next breath. Encouraged by that gentle space, she stretched again, uncertain but willing, and this time broke through the surface. The light was nothing like she imagined. It was warm, yes, but also overwhelming. The air was sharp. The breeze unsettled her. The world above felt vast and unfamiliar, and suddenly she felt small, fragile in a way she hadn't expected. Doubt swelled. Maybe she wasn't ready. Maybe the ache had been a mistake. Maybe she should go back. But then the young gardener appeared. He didn't speak, didn't urge her forward. He simply knelt beside her, pressed his hand into the soil near her stem, and gently steadied the ground around her. Not to push her, but to remind her. She was already rooted. And in that still moment she felt something unexpected. Beneath her, woven deeply into the earth, were her roots. Stronger than she had realized. Wider than she had imagined. She had been so preoccupied with the discomfort, the restlessness, and the unknown above, that she hadn't noticed what had been forming below. All that doubt, all the quiet days of questioning, all the hesitation she thought had held her back, had actually grounded her, had quietly prepared her for this very moment. The fear didn't vanish entirely, but it softened. Because now she knew something she hadn't before. Not only was she above the surface, not only was she in the light, but she was held, rooted, supported by everything she had once questioned. The seasons passed, and the years unfolded with quiet grace. The seed that once trembled in silence had become a big, beautiful tree, steady, spacious, fully alive. She didn't strive to be the tallest or the rarest. She simply stood, and in her stillness became a refuge. Her branches offered shade to the weary. Her roots held the earth steady, making space for nearby blooms. Her fruits ripened in silence, feeding passers-by with gentle generosity. Children played beneath her branches, turning them into ships and castles. Birds nested in her arms, singing of skies she'd never see, but welcomed all the same. And the gardener, older now, his hair silvered by time, still came to visit. Not to tend but to rest. Sometimes he brought his grandchildren, who laughed and played beneath her canopy, leaning into the quiet strength of what had once been only a hesitant seed. And he would smile, watching the life she now held, not because she had strived, but because she had allowed herself to become. And though she once believed her growth began the moment she broke the surface, when the light touched her leaves, or when the fruit quietly appeared, she now understood something deeper. It began much earlier, in the silence, with that ache, in that first moment of unease when something inside her whispered, "I think I need to leave this place." This moment, standing tall, offering shade, bearing fruit, is but the first time the world could see what had long been unfolding beneath the surface. Every hesitation, every question, every stretch she once thought too small to matter, all of it had counted. And everything she had become, had already begun, the moment the ache first arrived. So that was the tale of a quiet ache beneath the soil. A story of stillness, of comfort, and of something deeper beginning to stir. And maybe, my friend, that tale wasn't just about a seed. Maybe it was about you. Because sometimes what holds us back isn't fear of falling, but comfort. The kind that whispers, "This is enough." Even when something inside already knows, there's more. We often try to bury that feeling beneath distraction or routine. But sometimes what we resist is actually the invitation. Not to run from who we are, but to grow into who we're meant to be. Real growth doesn't begin with a leap. It begins in stillness, in silence, with a restlessness that lingers, even when everything seems fine on the outside. And when we stop pushing it away, when we allow ourselves to feel it fully, something shifts. That's when roots begin to form. That's when clarity takes shape, quiet, invisible, but essential. Not loud answers, but deepening questions that ground us. There may come a moment, perhaps soon, when you feel the urge to reach. You won't feel ready, but still you'll stretch. And the life, like the young gardener, might gently stir the ground around you. Not to force you, but to remind you, you are supported. You are more prepared than you think. Because the ache you carry has already begun your becoming. Not when the world sees it, but when you hear it. And when you finally rise, honestly, imperfectly, you'll understand, it was never just about strength or change. It was about the fruit that nourishes others, the shade that comforts, the stillness that welcomes what comes next. So if something is stirring in you now, don't rush, don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Because the ache is not your enemy, it's your beginning. So now, my friend, ask yourself, what if the ache inside you isn't something to fix, but a quiet invitation to grow? Maybe the sun you feared is the light you were always meant to rise toward. And maybe now, just maybe, it's time to stretch. I hope you liked this tale. And if you believe in stories that don't shout for attention, but speak softly to the soul, reminding us that even silence can be sacred, consider liking this video and subscribing for more tales like this one. And if someone came to mind, someone feeling a quiet ache or standing at the edge of becoming, share this tale with them. Because sometimes all it takes is a soft reminder that the ache we carry might just be the start of something beautiful. And above all, I wish you a blessed life, rooted in quiet courage, nourished by deep clarity, and blooming in your own time, into all that you already are.